Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 4 of the Debrief podcast. I'm Airman Jantz, and I'm here with the 97th Air Mobility Wing Command Team, Colonel Baker and Chief Flores. And we have a special guest this week, Chief Kerry Thompson from our very own Security Forces Squadron here. Welcome, Chief.
Cool. Thanks for the invite, sir.
Yeah, Team Defender.
Yeah, let's
Game
do
on.
Defenders, let's go. That's what I hear.
Yeah, let's go.
This is how it starts.
Command Team, how are you guys? How you guys doing?
We're great. We're just talking about before we came on. It's Police Week.
Yes.
It's a perfect week to have Chief Thompson with us. But we're excited.
Yeah, you guys kicked off this morning with a ruck march. How far was it, sir?
6.2 miles, something like that.
6.2 miles of hurt. Roger that, sir.
Yeah, you were moving fast.
Yeah.
A lot of your team was moving fast too.
Yeah, a lot of guys just ran the whole thing.
But we were out there together at the opening ceremony and the kickoff. It was really nice. It was a great way. That's a great way to start a week.
Absolutely. That was my first career field in the Air Force. And I think I mentioned it previously. My heart will always be as a defender. Some of the best times and some of maybe not so good times have happened as a cop. But like you said this morning, sir, they got to watch. They're the first line and a lot of the times the last line of defense as well.
A lot of times the only line of defense.
Yeah. So I think we get giddy every time we're on our Defender Nation.
Yeah, we do. And I was telling them, I really have a special place in my heart too. I mean, you've lived it. I had the privilege of leading Defenders with the Defender Flight and Squadron Command. And it was just really formative. I will always have that profound respect for the Defenders and what y'all are able to do, what you bring to the fight. It's awesome.
You guys hit me in the heart.
Yeah,
you
we
guys
got
hit
you.
me in the heart. Yeah, you got me good. I'm supposed to be the hard, tough cop chief. But man, I'm so appreciative. Especially for you guys. I don't think you guys understand how much it means when you all show up. Y'all go out and about and y'all show up everywhere. And I don't think you guys understand how much it means to those guys to see y'all like that, man. So just for me to you guys, appreciate that.
Well, cops don't give compliments lightheartedly. So that means he doesn't know how much that means to us to hear this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, appreciate that. And yeah, we absolutely mean it. And yeah, Defenders, we talk about this all the time, but the Defender community's tight.
Oh, yeah.
They're not. There's no freebies to gain trust with a Defender unit.
No,
it's serious business and for good reason. But they're awesome.
I think y'all hit the ground running too. I believe. I can't remember what it was, but it was like change of command. Here you guys come. Week 1, they were out on the mid shift. I think it was like midnight 30 or something like that. You guys went out there and
I think it was the first month.
Made her way out there and got to see them in action. Which today they had the berets on.
Hey,
by the way, how awesome was that? Yeah. They look sharp, didn't they?
Oh, they look great.
Yeah. That was the first thing I noticed walking up, a formation of Defenders with berets on.
And not only you, so did I pulled in the parking lot and they were all sitting out there gathered up, and I looked at, I was like, you know what? They've all got a beret, because everybody's wearing the tactical hats now and stuff. So yeah, it was good to see, in that type of formation that those guys had that thing. I love it, the blue beret. Yeah.
It was definitely inspiring.
It was. You wear yours all the time?
All the time, sir. Number 1, my head too big for a tactical cap. But number 2, my wife.
They make extra large sizes.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, but my wife, she was a Security Forces augmentee, and I think that's what sold her on me. She liked the beret, so I could never give it up. Yeah, we call it Defender Sundays when I get to form it and put it on and get it all shaved up. You remember what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, we talked about that this morning. The pride in your. You can have a pizza beret, like a
Chef Boyardee.
One, or you can have a Security Forces. Minted cap. beret. So definitely got one of the best ones here.
There's a lot of heritage in that.
It is back in I originally came in 95, but in 97 the career fields merged, and as you see the beret right now, it's got a defensive force flash on it. There's defenders of the force that they say, it's it was meant to distinguish us. Prior to that, it was the Air Police, not Security Police, but Air Police, and they had a white helmet to distinguish those guys from everybody else. So it's meant to distinguish you from the crowds. I know it's something to be said when you put a kit on, you can see the guns and you can tell, but like in a crowd when everybody's going crazy, they can really identify what that beret is and what you can do for them. So.
Yeah, I like it. It looks cool, and it's clear. I mean, you see him, it looks like a defender. So it's a great morning. It's a great way to start the week.
Was your week good, Airman Jantz?
Yeah. It was a great weekend. Great weather. Holy cow! I can't complain about only the win. But other than that, gorgeous weather. Playing hockey and playoff hockey right now. That's going on. Shout out my hockey fans. Appreciate you. we're few in Oklahoma. So, but yeah, it was great. No complaints. And then today, easy day. Top it off with a podcast.
You thought 106-degree temperatures was a great weather?
Yeah, it's fine by me. It's sunny.
Interesting.
Better
as he can get out there and-
better than below freezing and a negative 20 wind chill.
That's fair.
I'll take
That's fair.
that. Yeah. But hey, Chief Thompson, you mentioned you joined in 95, correct?
Yes, sir.
I want to kind of get a little bit of your background on why you joined.
Oh, wow, man. So, yeah, originally 95. I'm originally from Ouachita County, Arkansas. And just like a lot of people that have their own stories about, opportunities and all that. Truth be told, I was chasing a girl. Man, she had this girl she was telling me about. She originally, was about to go into the Air Force. And I was like, what is this Air Force thing? And so she really hit me to it. And, I've got an identical twin brother, too. So I started talking to him about it. And he was like, oh, yeah, man, I want to fly. I was like, okay, that's cool, but hey, let's hit it off. But yeah, it was just peers in high school talking about it, and then speaking with my brother, who's a big influence in my life. Yeah, it was like let's go for it.
Well, y'all, we got to meet his brother last month for some professional development and some interaction that y'all were having with the defenders, some leadership perspective stuff, which I thought was really cool. I got the sense that y'all are really tight.
Oh man, yeah, we are man, I mean, identical twins. We share the same room until we were 17 years old, and man, I get to thinking about it, and it's about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I had an opportunity to purchase some land out about where he lives to actually go back and live with him. So man, it's just so exciting to think that I'll be able to live with him again, man. Yeah. But we're peas in a pod. I mean, when he came down, he actually stayed in my trailer. I was like, hey, man, we can go get a lodging room. But right now I'm living in fam camp as I transition for PCS. And I have a 26-foot travel trailer. And he was like, no, I'm going to stay in the trailer. I was like, man.
No problem. Y'all did it for 17 years straight.
Yeah, man. I was like, oh, man. But yes, sir. We are, we are locked in with each other.
Did y'all grow up in a small town in Arkansas?
Yeah, Ouachita County. It was an unincorporated town. The city we were actually from in that county is called Camden, and it's about maybe 9,000 people or so, 9 to 12,000 people, depending on who's taking count. And we grew up same town the whole time, never moved. Stayed in the same house from, man, I don't know, since we was maybe 10 years old. So even when we go back, we're in the same house. So
family still there.
Yeah, mom, dad still in the house. Got a sister, she lives in the same town. All my uncles and aunties, they're all down there. So yeah, I don't.
They listen to podcasts.
Yeah, they're gonna. Listen
Hey, they
to this
won't
one.
out.
Yeah, they're gonna get this one. Believe it. Yeah, it's gonna probably. The funny thing about it is that because two identical twins from a small community like that to go do the Air Force. The funny thing about it is that when we go back home, everybody knows it. So because it's so small, so this might end up on doggone the radio station 104.5 out there. That thing we played over and over again. But yeah, small town, love it.
You mentioned they're tight. I had a couple conversations with Colonel Thompson, and I told him I think it's so cool that Chief Thompson has a colonel brother, and he said, I actually think the opposite. I think it's so cool that I have a chief brother on the other side. So I see a lot of admiration there. It's pretty cool to see.
Absolutely. What kind of stuff did y'all get into growing up?
You would ask something like that with the Colonel B.
See if there's any dirt out there.
Oh man, the dead bodies are still buried, sir. No, we man, just saying, we were athletes. We, small town. We ran track, we played football. I mean, of course, we did the twin thing when people didn't understand identical twin stuff, switching classes, trying to, have teachers out there yo, which one are you, Kerry or Gary? And then, nothing insane that I think I want to put on a podcast, but let's just say we had our fair share where our parents had to rein us in, saying hey, you two cats, y'all got to cut this off. Y'all got to cut it out, So
I bet.
Yeah, same stuff.
Well, it sounds like we've talked about in our very first podcast, we talked about sports growing up, and it was really influential in my life.
Yeah.
It absolutely instilled some things and set some paths and conditions that I'm convinced in my path, I would not have been successful without it. But
what sports you play?
I played baseball, football, wrestling.
Geez, so you're busy the whole year.
Everything. A little bit of everything. Yeah.
Wrestling.
Yeah.
Come out and do some combatives with the defenders.
I keep as soon as y'all get them back out there, I'm all in.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. Y'all grew up.
What about you? Sports, you too?
I played sports later in my life. I played 8th grade. I played football and basketball.
Basketball?
It's actually pretty good for being 5'7". But got older and really, I'm the guy that hustles. So that's why long distance running became the perfect sport for me. I mean, I'm willing to suffer and being slow. That's the perfect.
He is not
opportunity.
slow.
Not at all.
You know that.
Like, not at all. Yeah, I was out on the track one day on a Sunday. I was like, okay, this is going to be my long day. I'm doing 4 miles. And I think he lapped me about like 6 times when I was trying to do 4 miles. I was like, man, this sucks so bad. Didn't even say hi or anything. Just kept running. Like, focus.
I waved a couple times. Yeah. So he's debriefing right now. So I apologize, Chief.
No, you don't.
So you did some sports, and do you think that helped you in your path to the Air Force?
I do. Like, it made it. I was just having this conversation. It's crazy you asked that. I was just having this conversation with my commander about it. Like, then, like, it seemed like for certain career fields, they recruited that type of person, the person that, we're used to the suffering, as you say, Chief, and, the person that was, like, fine with teams. And, I think no kidding, when I got into basic training, it wasn't that difficult physically for me, I really, and especially when I got into security forces, it was something that I was glad that I went through, prior to, because you saw people struggle through different things that probably wouldn't have struggled through if they had, did those sorts of things, Yeah. So I know it did. Yeah.
So for somebody who was chasing a girl when you joined,
I knew I shouldn't have said that.
and going into security forces, what made you stay in and ultimately be a lifer?
Wow, lifer. Yeah, that's so final, right? Well, actually, I didn't have that sort of, I didn't have that sort of idea to stay in as a lifer. I actually separated. I was in it about 8.5 years. I was a staff sergeant. It was height of OEF, OIF. As you know, deployments were through the roof. And, security forces, I was trying to decide what I wanted to do in my life. So I actually separated. I went into reserves. I retrained. I was a comm troop in reserves up in Niagara Falls Air Reserve Station. And but it just, that defender was in me. It was I was a little long in the tooth at that point, and I had some people say some choice words to me about like what not to do in comm because I was a prior defender. So rubbed me a little wrong way, pushed me back into this, and so I really wanted to, like, after I came back in, I said, you know what, all right, I'll come back in active duty as security force, and I became a military working dog handler, and that was like, you can't beat it. I mean, you got a dog with you every day. Like, I mean, you never have a bad day when you can just grab your dog and just walk, So, and after I did that, I was all in at that point. I had seen it. I was active duty for a while. I was able to get out and I saw the civilian side, as a reservist, but you're really, I was a traditional reservist. So, 1 week a month type thing. And when I saw the, on the outside, like just the civilian sector, I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for it, So when I came back in, I told myself, I'm gonna do it the right way. Let's go. Yep. And I was all in, man. And it was. And then when I came back in, I just saw, I had a couple of goals that I set. I said I want to be a security forces flight chief. I want to be a master sergeant, because I had a master sergeant that was really influential in my career. And I said I want to do that. I want to be able to, take these troops. I want to be able to like show these troops a credible leader. I want, and all because of that one master sergeant. And God rest his soul, Gregory Turgeon. He passed about. We kept up for a while, but he passed about maybe 5 years ago. Yeah, so I had a pretty rough life after he had got out. But I saw that and I was like, I want to do that. And then as you progress, you start seeing like the scope of influence you can have in different type of positions. Yep. And I saw a senior master sergeant, and I said, you know what? The senior master sergeant is like the flight chief of the flight chief, so I want to be that guy, and I was able to hit that mark. And as I'm a senior master sergeant, I'm like, all right, cool. And then I saw a chief, and I was like, oh man, it's like his name was Ben Reynolds. He had an orange aura running. Like every time I looked at him, he had that aura. I was like, oh man, this guy, like, he commands a room when he goes in there. And like, and I said, man, like, if there's anything I want to do, so I just saw those leaders that I kept wanting to, model myself after, and it just made me continue to push. And here I am right here.
You must have read my mind, because I was literally going to ask you, about becoming master and then senior and then chief.
Yeah, I saw your notes.
I had it there, and I was like, wait, what are you talking about?
That's a good cop right there.
He
cheated a little bit. Look at your notes.
Saw the interview notes.
But I'm curious if your leadership philosophy changed and how it changed as you went from master to senior to chief?
No, man. Not at all. Like, it was all because I talked to you about that one flight chief I had, and it was the give a damn factor that he had. And I mean, I really believe, like, if you just give a damn, like, you care about the people you're around. The people are the people who's going to get this done. They're the ones going to get it done. And you really got to, in your heart of heart, care, about their well-being. And so, no, like, it hadn't changed since then, It was a couple of nuances, like, that I had to realize that, like, sometimes caring for them is you have to cut them loose. You have to let them go. You have to push them out. And, you have to hold them accountable for certain things, I'm sorry for hitting the table.
You're fine. Hey, passion.
Yeah.
That's what makes you special.
Just like, yeah, man. And like, if it was anything that I did a little different that I had to think about a little bit differently, it was it like, hey, I think like Speedy always say, you got to feed them the vegetables sometimes, and man, like holding them accountable to stuff, man. So like, it was, of course, caring for them, but sometimes caring for them is saying like, you know what, you're messing this up, man. Like, come over here. Let's have a frank conversation. You know what? I don't believe this is for you. We got to move in a different direction. So that's about a little bit of change I had with my philosophies.
That's really cool. I think that's one of the fundamental things that sets us apart as an organization is the ability to do that and understand that people need different things at different times.
Roger.
It's something that we've talked about, I think, even on this podcast before is, what does a brand new airman need? What type of leadership do they need versus somebody who's got maturity and experience under their belt? We have different levels amongst our airmen too. Yeah. But I think you're hitting on some really fundamental components on how we use the word love from time to time, and how we demonstrate that love matters, and it's not static.
Yeah, it's very dynamic.
So I got to ask to Chief Thompson. I mean, you've had a lot of leadership experience, a lot of airmen, and we both know. Well, I have a touch and go in security forces. I mean, you've done this business for a very long time. Well, you had a touch and go in comm. Apparently, I feel like you've told me this before, but. I gotta ask, how do you balance compassion with accountability even today?
Man, that's a tough one. Like my going in is always that first part, the compassion, and I always try to think like, when you say accountability, I always try to think to myself, like, how can we make more airmen accountable as opposed to holding them accountable? So like, I really think about like, making sure that those guys understand like, hey, you have a part to play in this. People are depending on you every day. And it's very simple. It's very easy for me to pass on that message because I'm so serious about it, So I more so try to make sure that they know that they're accountable as opposed to holding them accountable, So, and it's a fine line you walk. Man, it's a fine line you walk. And sometimes you get it wrong, Sometimes you miss. And, but, you always, want to defer to that compassion piece, but man, to make sure that they understand it, like, you must be more accountable, as opposed to me having to hold them accountable. There's time and place for it. I do it, we all do it, but I try to push them to be more accountable as opposed to holding them. I don't know if that even answers what you're asking, but like, that's what I try to do.
Yeah, so it certainly gets to the essence of it. And I mean, really what I took away from that is that you believe in people.
Right.
But you also believe in good order and discipline. And that's always the calculus. Now what they're saying, if you're going to get it wrong on the people side.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to ask at some point, when this goes back to a question on previous podcasts that Chief Flores asked, when you were talking about your history of service and how you joined for one reason and then you found, and I think you kind of hit it right there in the middle when you came back as a military working dog, but you got to ask your question.
Jazz, you ready?
Oh, I got it. If you want me
I want Jazz to see if you took my debrief.
I wrote it down. So there's a difference between the day you enlisted versus the day you joined.
And for me, I think Colonel Baker already said it. Like, when I came back in that second time, when I was out and I came back in, I was full in. I was like, man, I wasn't a chicken. I was the hog. I don't know if you guys.
That makes sense coming from Arkansas.
Who? The chicken, like they spitting out eggs, but they still rolling. But the hog is committed because they're getting slaughtered and ham and eggs. You know what I'm talking about? So, I was committed at that point. I don't know if any of that makes sense to you guys, but like it's a commitment level. And when I came back in, I was so serious about it. Because as I said earlier, those heights of OEF, OIF, and folks depending on you. So you had to really like, not take this thing for granted. Not just, it's not a game. Like, America's business is for real. And man, like, it sets you apart from a lot of different people, man. And like, so yeah, the day I joined, when I came back in, I was committed to this thing, man. And I'm still committed now. I'm still trying to hold up. You know, I saw Colonel Baker on the ruck this morning, like running past everybody. You know,
I did not.
Yeah, you did.
I did. We held our own, I think.
Yeah.
Me and the LT. Me and the LT.
Yeah.
Colonel Baker's a sneaky good athlete.
Yeah.
Like, he likes to play it off as he's just one of the boys, but he hangs in there, and he's usually on the higher end of productivity.
More sneaky than good, apparently.
Man, like
I love getting out there. It's when we can, you know. That's the.
Hey,
I rucked up with the LT today.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Citadel team Citadel.
Yeah, we did. Sure did. It's good.
So, debrief item for you. You mentioned you went to comm, and that kind of fell flat for you. You were a staff sergeant then?
Yes, sir.
So, if Chief Thompson could go back with all the knowledge, growth, experience, back to comm in that time and place, do you think Chief Thompson could do well in that community?
Yeah. It's still, at the end of the day, it's people, you know. And you know, I was a little short-sighted. You know, I'm pretty sure you guys can imagine, as security forces NCO, I was very direct with, like, you know, the no nonsense. And you know, I didn't understand, like, that it's nuanced. You know, leadership is very nuanced. As you were saying, like, it's levels to it. It's different as a senior NCO dealing with it. You know, and you know, I was not ready. I could tell you that right now. I wasn't ready at that time. So as I sit right now, understanding that it's a different way to go about it. Oh yeah, I'd have been all over it. You know, being cyber, doing space stuff or something. I don't know. But
Yeah, I think so. What do you think, sir? You think if you put him in comm squadron, he'd be successful?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Yeah, I think we could pretty much plug in anywhere, and I think he'd be successful, because I think your mastery of the fundamentals and maturity and life experience that you bring to the table right now is just kind of it's just so evident in the conversations that we're having. I wonder, I was thinking through, when you talk about the evolution of that journey, was there, and this is a personal question, but we're on the podcast, but was there anything formative going on in your life that led to those changes?
Oh man. Yeah, like, yeah, you know how it is when you overseas, you're dealing with a lot of that stuff. And man, you know, lost some real good friends, and you know, guys, like, as they transitioned out, you know, that, you know, didn't transition well, you know. And it was one of those things where, like, I had to, you know, take a break, take a step back, you know, take the proverbial knee, you know. And yeah, so yeah, life was giving me all it had, you know. And, even when I was out, you know, I told you I was active duty for like 8.5 years before I separated. And like, when I got out for all the wrong reasons. I was, you know, tired, fed up. And so, like, while I was out for those 2 years, didn't have a job. I was no kidding, man. I was on food stamps, you know, social services, me and my son. And yeah, it really put a lot of stuff in perspective for me, you know. So, man, Colonel Baker, hell of a question. Yeah, it put a lot of stuff in perspective for me. And it really made me realize what's important in life, you know, how to prioritize what you're actually doing with yourself, you know, what you're doing for your family. Yeah, so yeah, I was going through a couple of struggles, like, you know, a lot of people do in this thing. I'm sure you too have your own struggles that y'all dealt with in various points in you guys' career. But yeah, I was homeless for a little bit, you know, got to, you know, I lived in some people's basements, and yeah, but yeah, I was going through a couple things, but it really made me, like, you know, laser focused on, let's get this back on, let's go back in this thing and get it right, you know. Let's do it for real this time. This is not a play thing. This is, people are depending on you. You need this. So yeah, I went through a couple of things, yes, sir. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a heck of a story. I think I appreciate your humility and sharing that. You know, I think a lot of people, you have this presence about you that speaks to a lot of life experience. I mean that in a really good way, that it comes across as a lot of maturity, and it comes across as somebody who has a perspective that's unique and that drives interest. And from a person to want to know more and figure that out. And I think a lot of people who have seen adversity in their life, I think, tend to relate in a little bit of a different way. So sometimes sharing that story, I think, is probably going to be really powerful for somebody that's out there. That that there's a path, and it's not always easy.
No,
there's just
and this is like just about almost therapeutic talking to you guys about this, because at certain levels, like, we don't get opportunity to share. Nobody's asking the chief, like, what's going on with you. Nobody's asking the colonel, like, what's happening. It's all about, like, that other one. So appreciate you asking those type of things.
It's time to rebrand the therapeutic debrief. I don't know. I think we're onto something there.
No, that one's just thinking about that, I hadn't thought about something like that.
Didn't we talk about it Saturday? I said you were layered.
Yeah, we talked about the layer. Yeah.
I think you talked to Chief Thompson. He has, and I talk about presidents a lot. Like I think he's the zenith of presidents, because you can tell right away he's dealt with adversity without even having to talk about it, and he's relatable. And I think any airman from any walk of life, especially our enlisted folks. I mean, some of us come from some backgrounds, and officers too as well. But a lot of our E's definitely, and I think right away they can see relatability to you and your story, and they can trust your words because you walk the walk.
And
that's powerful.
Yeah, it really is. And that's that. Sometimes we've talked about this idea of what we've talked about before on the podcast, which is lowering the shield kind of moments, and especially in your business that you're in, it's really, I think, particularly hard for defenders because of the roles and responsibilities that y'all have. So y'all have shields up almost all the time. But you bring up a good point, and it's not because anybody at this table feels sorry for ourselves at all, but there's not a lot of opportunity for folks to lower the shield sometimes, and we have very important roles that we fill, and important jobs across the board. So there's a time and a place, but I mean, I think this is probably a time and a place that could be helpful to a lot of people, because this will get captured and somebody will listen to it. And
for anything, it definitely made me feel good, just to like talk that through. Man, if it is somebody out there that's got those type of things going on, if it's one thing I can say to them, is just, hey man, just keep your feet moving. Don't get stagnant. Keep pushing yourself. Reach out to folks. Like, man, so like you were talking about earlier with my brother and how close we are. Like, that was my man. That was the guy. He was always asking, like, what's next? What you doing? What's next? He really helped me out of a dark place. So
that's who helped you help get you through that.
Yeah, man, that dude, man. Like, I hope he don't listen to this, but he's cool. He's an alright guy. Keep your feet moving. Keep pushing.
When he hears this, he's gonna say, "I knew it."
He never told me that.
Hey, just going off script here for a second, and we haven't done this to any previous folks, just because you're a chief and you've mentored quite a few airmen leaders, officers, which are leaders too. But what's one of your feel-good stories? Like, I've rebuilt an airman, or you helped somebody through a tough spot.
Oh man, so while I was in J-Bear, I was previous to this assignment, I was in Minot. Previous to Minot, I was in Alaska, J-Bear. And man, I had a kid, like, man, and he was doing like all the wrong stuff for all the right reasons. He was using his government travel card to go buy his kid diapers. Like, wrong thing to do, but for the right that type of deal. And like, sometimes things comes across your desk, and you like, you looking like, all right, what are we gonna do with this one? And not even thinking about the person behind it. Man, and this kid, like, finally got to talk to him. The dude, he was living out of a travel trailer in Alaska. This is like October, November, going into like crazy season. I was like, man, where's your supervisor? Like, where's your flight? Like, and at this point in time, I'm a senior master sergeant, and so just to take the time, like, and this kid, and he was telling me, I think he tried to hit me in the heart. He was telling me like, hey, I want to be a dog handler. And I'm like, hey, man, I was like, he just saying, you know how they pull on those strings, say something to you, like, oh, okay, you're just trying to play. But he was so serious about it. So it was, man, Pfeiffer, I'm sorry, not Pfeiffer, Peterson, but actually call him Patterson, like the way it was spelled, it was weird. But so just helping that kid, like, hey man, you understand, like, there's plenty of base housing on here. You don't have to live in this travel trailer that you renting for like whatever. Hey man, like you want to be a dog handler? It's a way to do it. You hadn't said that to your supervisors, and no kidding. Like so, got the guy straightened out, and then it was just he was the only one I really just thought about because after he graduated military working dog school, he actually reached back out to me and was like, "Hey Chief, hey, I just wanted to let you know like all that stuff, and I made it, and it was and so he did a whole little like they do, and he was in after he became a dog handler, he went to ALS, and that's when he actually reached out to me because he wanted to talk about like our relationship and that type of deal.
Oof.
Yeah. So yeah, man. Like yeah, man. I hope he.
Is he still out there? Yeah.
Oh yeah. He was last I knew he was down in I think it was Joint Base San Antonio. He was down in South Texas. I think Joint Base San Antonio then. Yeah, but I'm gonna make sure he hears this. But like yeah, he really did something to me when I saw him like just something when you took an interest in him. And then got him on the right path, made sure he's like supervision understood which way to go with it. And, yeah, now like
I feel like those are the stories that keep
keep
us in service now. Like when you hear that, you're like, we're making a difference.
Yeah, it feels good. Like the people,
Yeah, I think that's the growing airman component.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything that
component.
is more powerful than that. That to see somebody thrive and succeed is just really it's just really really special. So
man.
Thanks for
You
sharing.
guys are bringing up all sorts of memories.
Yeah, we got
the debrief, man.
This is the fourth one. We're not rookies anymore. We got all kinds of.
Jancy
Evan
neither.
Jancis.
And by the way, to our listeners, his coffee cup is here.
I was just about to talk about his coffee cup. Have you seen? You have to show Chief Thompson.
I showed him before
You
the
did.
show.
A little bit of home right there, huh?
A little bit of home.
See, we've even improved that. Now he does it before the show. So
Yeah.
Make the best use of the time.
But you mentioned you've been deployed several times. Do you have any, let's call it happy or just fun stories that are appropriate for the podcast to share?
Great disclaimer.
Yeah, appropriate for the podcast. Oh man, like I was deployed my second deployment. I was deployed during 9/11 in Kuwait. I was in it's not bad, I promise you. But like you used to be able to travel off base over there, like when you're deployed in that. But then of course after 9/11 lockdown and all that. And I just remember the guys when the dust settled and everything, and then I remember guys coming back like, hey, because I was an NCO at the time, and it was like you could drive off base, and I was like, hey, Sergeant Thompson, we can't go off base. I'm like, are you serious? And I had to have like a hour-long conversation with this kid about going off base. Come to find out, like the dude had like a wife downtown that ended up getting like left outside the fence or whatever. That we had to like get flown back to the States. And I was like, man, what are you thinking, man? Like, I thought that was pretty funny afterwards, but at the time it was pretty serious. But like, I couldn't believe it, man. Like, he had a wife over there who was going to visit every weekend off base, and then if 9/11 happens, and then she's stuck down there in a hotel, and I was like, dude, what are you doing, man? Yeah, so I don't know if that's funny or not, but it was funny to me afterwards. Like, man, you almost like got your wife locked up in Kuwait, man. Like,
No, that's good. Another thing I wanted to touch base on, and we kind of touched on like hard decisions, but I wanted to ask you if there were ever any hard decisions you had to make as a leader that have, really made an impression on decisions after that. That you had to really consider, this event happened. Well, how would you change? How should I change my philosophy in the future, the way I make these decisions in the future?
Yeah. It was here. Like when I had to give advice to my commander on like that, showing that love, like that hard love, and to where we had to move on from some things, and like that was a hard one. I mean, to where like, that decision was so hard, man. Like I wasn't sleeping, afterwards, but it was what was needed, and so we had to make the hard call, and it was made. And if it was one thing that I look back on, and I actually had this conversation with my commander earlier. If it was one thing I would look back on, I wish I would have been better at communication. Like, believe it or not, like you were saying presence or what, like I'm a terrible communicator. Like for my first like 3 or 4 years in the military as a security force member, I didn't even talk on the radio. Like I got asked one time, like, "Hey man, are you mute?" Like, cause I didn't speak, until spoken to, that type of deal. So It's very hard for me to it takes a lot of energy for me to communicate, and I just wish I would have had better communication, better relationships prior to making that decision. But the decision at the end of the day was always the right one. Could have had gone about it a little bit different, communication wise. I was very matter of fact. This is what needs to happen. This is why it needs to happen.
You just captured the essence of the whole podcast, the whole debrief piece, which is when we actually started this. Like the very first thing we did was, I think, look up the definition of debrief, and it's like figure out what happened, why it happened, and how we can improve it for next time. Yeah. So I think you just totally encapsulated it.
Like it's my OODA loop, my orient, observe, decide, and act. But now it's just understand, decide, and act. Try to throw communication in there somewhere.
I'll say your public speaking is on point.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have an operations group, squadron commander, by name requests you to do the next ALS class just so he can hear you speak one last time at the graduation dinner, that I think that says something.
Man, those things do it for me. I don't know about you guys, but man, I just, it's young and personal. I just want to make sure they understand, hey guys, this is serious business,
and he wants to brag about the volleyball game.
You are so correct. Yep. I think we're 22-1 maybe. I can't remember.
I still have not. There has been no follow up from my my explicit challenge to get the Eagles out there with the Chiefs for some volleyball. But I understand you got to do the Airmen versus Chiefs, and y'all need to keep the integrity on it.
Right.
But it's still, the offer still stands.
Hey, sir.
That if y'all want to call the Eagles out there, we have to augment with some 05s.
Some
we need to get some lieutenant colonels in there. They may or may not be good. They'll probably be good. And see what happens.
Man, I remember talking to Colonel Rattan about it after that day that you threw that out there, and she looked up at Chief Swain, and this is Colonel Rattan, 5 foot, I don't even know, and Chief Swain, 6 foot, go figure, and man, Colonel Rattan looked at him and was like, "This is not happening." If you guys can imagine her, she has this strong Boston accent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was hilarious, and
she'd be great out there. She'd be digging them all over the place.
So I'm a little hurt. I feel like we were representing all 40-year-olds at this game, not just Chiefs. We were vicariously.
I'm taking the side of the Airmen. Y'all beat up on the Airmen. Y'all throw the gauntlet down on them. Y'all are the reigning champions. So I'm rooting for the underdogs. It plays out every time. Y'all get up there and you take your trophy, and I defend the Airmen. It's just the way it works. We'll see. Maybe this next class will.
Yeah. We've got a game on Monday. Yeah,
y'all practice, don't you?
No,
not at all.
Just show up.
Suspicious.
Make it happen.
Yeah. We get out of bed like this. Ain't no practice for this. This is excellence. Excellence walking.
Well, I agree with you. The ALSs are just they're magical moments. It's time to reflect and connect a little bit.
I would have loved to have done that last one. It's just, I don't know about you. You guys get to speak a lot. You guys get but I don't get those sort of opportunities. So when I do, man, I'm going to take advantage. I'm going to represent respect for the Chiefs, for senior leaders on base, man. I'm going to rep, man, and I'm so serious about those guys understanding how important of a task that they just accomplished. First line supervisor. I know we've all had one that was very influential. So I want them to feel it from me.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to leave anything on the table.
Not at all.
Most critical position in the Air Force, that frontline supervisor.
Oh, the backbone.
Or staff sergeants. That's who our airmen that just joined their first 3 or 4 years. Impressionable mind, malleable.
There you go.
They don't stay for the Chiefs. I think they stay for the quality of leadership and training they're getting from that frontline supervisor.
Yeah. That's so I hear you talking about with your squad leader, and like you were just hitting on a little bit. I think too that supervisor that was driving you.
Man, it'll make or break a unit. Like those guys. And I know the Air Force is coming out with a lot of different stuff to help supervise those frontline supervisors out. But it just starts again. If I could circle back with that, just got to give a damn about those guys. And, you really got to care about the person. Understand it.
Yeah, and it's one thing to say it; it's another to display it, to really to really back it up. And I think there's a lot of folks who are very well intentioned, mean it, and are sincere about it. It's sometimes just hard to actually demonstrate that to our airmen, and that's why I think to your point, like what he's talking about is not leaving it on the field when you have the opportunity
Not at all.
to interact and engage with them.
Yeah, it's like it's for security forces, like, you know, all day long, those guys, they'll just sit out there on the fight line, you know, going about their day to day. But when that one time that we need those guys to hit it, you need to be on it, you know. So those opportunities don't come that often. So when you do have that opportunity, it's time to play ball, you know. So the opportunities you guys give me to do something like that, it's time to play ball, you know. So, man, I love that. Yeah. Even though you didn't play in a lot. I don't think you were here.
No, and I'm going to miss next week too.
Are you?
I'll be on
y'all
leave.
going to the?
I'm going to the Air Force Academy graduation next week,
Okay.
which I'm excited for. But yeah,
He's getting a second salute up there, aren't you?
I think that's the plan.
Yeah.
What is the second salute?
Yes, this Michaela Becker, Lieutenant Becker. Sorry, she's about to graduate the Air Force Academy, and her father, one of my best buddies, Brad Becker, he'll be her first salute. Retired first sergeant.
Oh yeah.
I think I'm going to be the second salute because there's other family members going too with some service. But yeah, absolutely flattering.
Nice. Those things feel good, right? Like, you know, just man, I remember I did a first salute with down at OTS with a troop. You know, where I said like one thing that I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to do a OTS package for a guy, and I did one for his name's Kyle Grant. He's a second lieutenant still, but undergraduate pilot training out in South Carolina, Shaw, I believe. Him and his wife Whitney, and like I got to get my first salute. Man, it was so cool to go down there.
Oh, he was one of your airmen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was a staff
What an
sergeant.
honor! What an honor that is.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I was traveling in between PCSs, and he called and was like, "Hey, senior at the time, like I'm about to commission OTS. Like, what are you doing? Like, I want to get my first salute to you, get my first salute from you, you know." And I didn't even get to do that with my brother when he went OTS. I was deployed, you know, and but that was the first time I got to do that, man. And man, it's nothing like it, you know. Like, and I got to, you know, give me chills thinking about it. But like for the longest time, you know, he's staff sergeant senior, and he says, you know, he's steady calling me, you know, senior and, you know, sergeant. And this point in time, I got to salute and call him sir. Like that did something to me, you know. Like salute and say sir to him, you know.
That's powerful.
So it was something.
Chance, have you had a first salute? It's always. Some of this luck of the draw.
Yeah.
So I had my first salute as a chief when I was going through Central Operator School down at Randolph Air Force Base. A lieutenant was walking by, and I think we're inside, and he said, "Chief, would you mind coming out and being my first salute?" And it instantly gave me the chills.
Yeah.
I said, "Absolutely." Went out there, snapped him a sharp salute. He saluted me back, and he coined me. He gave me his
the dollar.
Yes,
yeah,
the silver dollar.
Yeah, and it's got his name on it. Like I just looked at mine,
and I was extremely grateful. I think I gave him whatever coin I had.
Right.
So sorry for the previous commander that gave me their coin. I promise I put it to good use. But I remember telling him
Re-gifted it.
I did. Debrief item for me. I always have some Chiefs coins to give these young LTs. But what I was most impressed with was not the silver dollar. It was his exuberance and like just zest for life. And I said, "Sir, more than you giving me this coin, I appreciate your attitude."
So we're wrapping up the podcast, and Chief Thompson, I really want to just let you have your moment, give you your closing comments, anything you'd like to add, just to finish it off today.
Man, like first off, you know, the obligatory got a thanks to the command team for inviting me out for this one, and I hope I can convey my message well with everyone. But man, if it's anything I could say to you guys, if you're wondering about, you know, you asked the question about leadership philosophies and all those sorts of things, and man, one of the biggest things I will tell, a few things I will tell you guys is like your attitude. Man, it means everything. Like, you know, sometimes you just can't control how things happen to you, right? Like, I couldn't control, like, some of the stuff that happens to me, like, but you can't control how you react to things, man. I think that's been said a lot, but, man, it is so profound to understand, like, how much you really can do yourself just by having a great attitude about things. And then, in comfort zone, like, don't be scared to try nothing, you know? Don't be scared to try, you know? Sometimes you make a mistake and you have to get up and like get dust off by your command chief and say like, "Hey man, you missed the mark on that one. Let's get back at it." But don't be scared to try, because man, folks are just sitting in their comfort zone all day long. And like I think I was talking about you one time. I was like, man, if Chief Flores was here, like I would say something like, you know, if you steady just run a 10-minute mile, you'll never get better. you know, like so you got to get outside that comfort zone and push yourself, man. So so those two things really mean a lot to me. Like always having the guts to try something different, getting outside of your comfort zone and having a good attitude about it, you know. Man, those are my big things that I want to make sure everybody understand, you know.
And I mean, just before I go over to the command team for their closing comments, any shout outs you want to give?
Hey, man, I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to my number one fan, well, my wife, Chief Master Sergeant Kerry Thompson.
Yeah.
Chief Master Sergeant Thompson.
Hey, the original Pegasus chief.
There it is. Yep,
Yeah.
started it out.
She is.
Big shout out to the wife. She's my number one supporter. I'm her number one fan as well. And like, you know, you got to have a good wingman. And then, of course, like, you know, Lieutenant Colonel Gary Q. Thompson. He just took his first command. I don't know if I told you guys. He just took his first command maybe about a month ago or so down there in Warner Robins, Georgia. Yeah, so big shout out to him. Hey, Gary, if you're listening, man, hey, get ready. I'm coming down there in about a week or so, man. Fire up the grill. Like, we smoke meats and all that other stuff and, like, talk about who's the best at that. But, like, yeah, I'll be waiting on those ribs, man. Yeah, but, yeah, huge shout out to those guys. And, of course, man, like, while I got the mic, my family, man, my mom, dad, like, I don't get an opportunity to say, you know, much about them, too. But, man, God, man, like, I don't think they understand how much they did for my brother and I. So Mom, Dad, if you guys listening, man, I just want to pass on my appreciation for how y'all brought us up and what y'all continue to do for our family, man. So, like, yeah, thanks for asking that. Like, yeah, huge shout out to those guys.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to be proud of you. You're going to have a lot of proud people in Arkansas and in your family, too. That's pretty clear.
You know, so our viewers, or listeners, are pretty savvy. I'm sure they're like wondering, did we skip a tier? Right?
Yeah.
Because we went Airman NCO.
was
Chief
a
technically or Senior NCO Corps, but there's a reason why we went all the way up. Chief Thompson, I mean, we've known him for almost a year, but he's leaving us to different pastures. I want to say greener, different pastures down in Maxwell and handle business down there. But we could not have let him leave without being on the podcast. And I can spot off a whole bunch of things, but I think a lot of folks will be able to walk away with ton of superlatives just by hearing your story and your leadership philosophy and some of the things you stand for. I think that's going to be powerful enough for them to hear. So thank you, Chief, brother, for delivering as we knew you would on this. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to walk away with a lot of good things from this.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to really come through in the podcast. The presence you have, the life experiences you have, the adversity that you've been through. It's remarkable where you're at and the way you lead airmen. It puts you in a very special place to lead from a very special place. Yeah. So yeah, this has been perfect to go right to the chief. We went Senior NCO Corps, but yeah, we had to get you in here before you go wheels up and get down to Maxwell. But we appreciate you. We appreciate what the defenders bring to the fight. You know, this guy's lived it. I've had the privilege to lead some of y'all before, but every day from me to y'all and from us to y'all is a privilege to serve with y'all here. And it's been pretty clear throughout this whole podcast is that's where your heart's at. Yeah. You know, you're serving your team and
man, I'm all in, sir.
You're all in. And the airmen recognize that and that's what they'll probably follow you to hell and back.
Yeah, let's do it.
So that's why we pulled you up there and count us in too.
I think Airman Jantz is thinking about putting in a cross-training package to be a defender. Maxwell, like, I want leaders like this.
Yeah, we'll see.
Let's bring it, man.
Yeah,
Make sure you hydrate.
I know Altus is definitely losing a good chief, and Maxwell is gaining a great one. Again, I don't think we can preach it enough. Thank you very much for coming on and sharing with us your life experience and your stories. Just thank you.
Hey,
and best of luck at Maxwell. Safe travels, and thanks, command team, as always. I think that is a wrap for episode 4.
Number 4 in the
of
books.
The Debrief podcast. Thanks, guys.
Here.
Cool.
Thanks, team.
All right.